Hello everybody, today I just wanted to talk about my number one problem with the Druid that absolutely needs to be fixed. They might fix it on Season 1, who knows, but it needs to be fixed because at this point it's just kind of annoying. It's destroying build diversity on the Druid, and it is also trivializing fights such as Uber Lilith, among other things. And so what I did here is I pulled up all of the best builds for Nightmare Dungeon pushing. Here's the in-game tier list push, so you can really just see the best builds people are using, for the in-game and what people are doing. So I want to point out something though about the best builds. You have the Werewolf Tornado Druid, you have the Earthen Bulwark Druid, you have the Lightning Storm Druid, and the Stormclaw Druid, right? Earthen Bulwark can only be played in Nightmare Dungeons. It's not a good speed build. It's specifically good for Nightmare Dungeon pushing. It's very slow if you use it for anything else. However, right, but I want to point out, let's look at the other builds here that they have, right? Every single one of these uses Ring of the Rampaging Werebeast, or sorry, the aspect of the Rampaging Werebeast, right? Every single one of these builds runs Grizzly Rage. It is so freaking annoying that every single build is a Grizzly Rage build, right? Like, they need to fix this. And why is this an issue? Because why is the best way to play Tornado as a werewolf? That doesn't make any sense. Like, why are people forced to what if they're playing a Druid because they're like, man, I just want to control the power of the storm, right? But now it's like, well, now they have to be a werewolf. And it's like, it kind of destroys the theme of it, because like if they don't do it that way, then it's like the Tornado Druid just gets like way worse, right? Like, do they even have the I'm curious if they just have like a regular Tornado Druid on here. No, they don't. They literally don't even have a regular one. They only have the Werewolf Tornado Druid on this list. Like, what? Like, what? Why is the way that everybody is playing Tornado a werewolf? That doesn't make any sense, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I think it's cool that you can run Tornado as a werewolf, but I do not like that it is the best way to play that build, right? I don't like that Lightning Storm Druid, the best way to play it is you have to run Grizzly Rage. Like, what is the point of Cataclysm, right? Like, you should, like, there should be the option to either run Cataclysm or Grizzly Rage, and they should be of similar power level, right? But there's not even similar power level. It's not even close. Cataclysm is useless compared to Grizzly Rage, right? Now, don't get me wrong. Obviously, there are some other builds that do not run Grizzly Rage, but the point I'm making here is that the majority of builds do run Grizzly Rage, and that's a problem, and it's the vast majority. There are a couple builds here or there coming up. Like, I think there's like a Nature's Fury build that was coming up, but then again, I think that ended up just becoming another variation of Earthen Bulwark, so it's like, it's just really, really annoying. And the reason why is because of this item right here, because believe it or not, the ultimate itself is actually not the problem. The issue is that Grizzly Rage is the only ultimate ability that has a legendary power for it, right? And not only that, the legendary power is insane. It's so good, right? Every time you crit, it increases your critical strike damage by 10%. Like, the increased duration of it's like whatever, but this whole like increase the critical strike damage by 10% is nuts. It's bonkers. It's wild. Okay? So they need to either nerf this, like, in my opinion, and this might be a hot take, there's no reason why this should even be in the game. And the reason why I say that is because no other ult that the Druid has a legendary power. None of them. Why does Grizzly Rage get special treatment where they're getting a legendary power right off the bat, right out the gate? Like, where's Lacerates? Where's Cataclysms? And even then, right, people say, oh, well, Dylan, the season theme's coming out, right? And there's going to be the Malignant Hearts. But here's the issue with that. Here's the issue. Even if they added legendary powers with the Malignant Heart system, those are going to be gone after Season 2, but Ring of the Rampaging Werebeast will still be here. That's my issue with that, right? Like, why? Like, they need to just, in my opinion, they either need to like remove this entirely or add actual legendaries to the game for the other ultimates that actually buff them up to make them as strong as this item, because this item is way too strong. It's like, it is trivializing way too many fights. Like, for example, there has been Uber Lilith kills with the with the Shred Druid now, where you're literally just one-shotting her. Like, if you actually play like a Grizzly Rage Shred Druid and you like just giga stack like Stormclaw's aspect and you have like all the perfect stats, there's a good chance you're just gonna one-shot her in her first phase. Right now, obviously, when it comes to Uber Lilith, there are one-shot mechanics you have to like, you know, dodge, but at the same time, it's like it trivializes the fight because it turns it to where it's like, oh, I'm just gonna one-shot her and then do like 2 mechanics and then the fight's over. It's like, that's not a pinnacle boss fight, and it's just because of this item right here, right? It's literally all because of this item. Like, this is the item that's making this possible. Like, it's too strong. The critical strike damage buff is way too strong. It needs to be nerfed, or they need to add in other legendaries that are going to buff them. Now, don't get me wrong, it could temporarily get fixed on the launch of the seasons, because maybe the malignant powers are going to have a bunch of legendary powers that are going to soup up the other ultimates, right? But keep in mind, when that season's over, all that's going to be gone. So I'm really, really hoping that they add in legendary powers that are going to buff the other ultimates, because I do not like that. This is the number one issue I have with the Druid right now, is that this one ultimate is sucking in every single build idea to where you have to run this ultimate, right? Like, because I remember when I was playing the beta, I loved running a Cataclysm. I thought that was just a cool ability. I thought Lacerate was a pretty cool ability. It kind of sucks in AoE, but still, like, for bossing, right? Like, I was like, man, this is a pretty cool ability, you know? It felt really thematic. It was cool. And then but now it's like, oh, well, if I don't run Grizzly Rage, I'm literally going to do, like, half or like a third of the damage that I would be doing if I ran Grizzly Rage. So it's like why, Blizzard, why? But anyway, yeah, so this is my number one issue, is just every single one of these are running it. How do we fix it? Well, the answer is either going to be they need to nerf this, maybe reduce the critical strike damage buff down to like 5%, 3%, or maybe even just reduce the critical strike damage buff down entirely and then change it to where it does something else, right? Or just change it to where it does something else instead of the critical strike damage buff. But it's just this critical strike damage buff that's making all these numbers go insane, because if you stack attack speed and, you know, I shred or I tornado or I do whatever like freaking 15 times in like 3 seconds, it's like, yeah, you're gonna stack up an astronomical amount of critical strike damage there. So yeah, and then, you know, you stack that with like the Earthen Might, etc., and that's how you get, like, you know, the big damages. Yes, but anyway, so that's kind of my thoughts. The TLDR is aspect of the Rampaging Werebeast is way too strong. They either need to nerf the critical strike damage buff on it, or they need to add legendaries for other ultimates that make them like as strong or on par. However, that's going to be hard to do. I think they should ultimately just remove that critical strike damage buff, because I think because of the fact it's a multiplier, it's too generalized and can be applied to way too many builds. So yeah, but anyways, let's see what they do. Hopefully it'll at least be temporarily fixed with Malignant Hearts, but I don't even like that as a solution, because that, like I said before, that's going to be gone after the season is over. But anyways, that's going to be it. That's kind of my soapbox on like my biggest issue with the Druid right now. Like, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you next time.